Otto here. How the heck you doing this fine day, everybody? Welcome one and all to Webinar Wednesday, the final Webinar Wednesday of the summer. We're going to be taking time off. So what better way to end Webinar Wednesday than to bring on our special guest today, Leslie Samuel, my good friend. How are you doing, Leslie?
I am doing, like my son would say, better than stupendous. I am great. Glad to be here today.
Well, Leslie's going to be talking to us about a very, I think, a sensitive topic. One of the biggest challenges that most of us have who are looking at building an online presence of our own or building an online business is, what the heck do I do? How do I convert what I do? How do I take what I know and what I do and who I am and make money from it? And so I'm interested to see exactly how Leslie approaches this, because this is one of the things that I find a real challenge when I talk to people, when I encourage them to take on our online lifestyle and our entrepreneur lifestyle is, if they've got a great idea, fantastic. But if they just want to do it and they don't necessarily know what to do, Leslie's going to help. You're going to help us, right?
Absolutely. That's what we're here for, right? If you're here for that, that's what you're going to get.
No pressure, Leslie. You better come through, because my community needs it. I think they deserve it.
Great.
I won't say they deserve it. So let me just fill everybody in. If you're new to us, if you haven't joined us for Webinar Wednesday, welcome aboard. Every week here at DottoTech, we produce one of these tutorial webinars on Wednesdays. Ironically, Webinar Wednesday. They're completely free. They're always on point as far as training in either productivity or content creation or online marketing in those different areas. If you have to leave or if you have any issues, there will be a replay sent out immediately, or tomorrow morning we send out a replay of this video along with any resources that we talk about during the video. And then after a week, we archive these videos, of which this is number 181. So our 181st Webinar Wednesday. We archive them for our fantastic patrons at Patreon. DottoTech is a community-funded channel, and we're supported through the generosity of many of you who are online at this moment. And it's supported through a website called Patreon, which is a community funding website that allows you to support content creators. So our patrons join us. They contribute $10 a month to keep us on the air, to keep us creating content, and in return, they get some perks. Half price off on our courses, and most importantly, they get access to all of the Webinar Wednesday archives, of which now there's 181. And so to all of our patrons who are here, and I know there's a lot of you, a great big thank you. We appreciate you more than words can express. So that's, so I just want, if you're interested in supporting us, patreon.com/DottoTech. I know people are asking if I have a cold. I don't, but I just ate some corn on the cob. And for some reason, it's kind of phlegmy. It was delicious corn and peaches and cream corn on the cob, if the truth be told.
Ooh.
It's very sweet. Didn't need to add any sugar.
You're making me hungry right now.
Yeah, well, you can go eat in an hour. You can go and eat in an hour. So Leslie, fill me in just before we get going. Fill me in on why, because this is a pivot for you. You've pivoted a couple of times. For those of you that don't know, Leslie is a successful YouTube creator. He has a biology channel that's done exceptionally well, where you were a biology teacher in your former life, right?
I was a biology teacher, wanted to be a professor, decided to do it on YouTube because I didn't have a PhD. And then that opened the way for me to become a university professor. So very much into biology and all things science-y and all that good stuff.
But I met you in an interlude in your life when you were doing social media marketing. You were helping out with Social Media Examiner, and that's when we met. And so you're very, I guess because of your YouTube involvement, you're very interested in the entire online social marketing space.
Absolutely. And I still do a lot of that today. I'm all about how do you take the thing that you're good at, the thing that you're passionate about, the thing that excites you, and how do you put it online in a way where it can have an impact, but that you can also make some money with it, because that's what I've done and that's what I've seen and helped so many people do. So I love to share that with others.
So what made you decide to take this particular angle about monetizing your message? Fill me in on that.
So the concept of a message for me is significant because, there are people online that just create content just because, they want to make money. And that's perfectly fine. You can make money, and I'm all for making money. But I'm all for making money in ways where you can have an impact. So that's the message part. Like, it's not just me saying, hey, you need to pass your biology class. It's me saying, anyone can understand even complex neuroscience. And I'm going to show you how even you can do it. So by having that message, you're able to resonate with the people that you're trying to reach. And by monetizing it, you're able to build this thing into a business so that, hey, if this is what you're trying to do full time, or you're trying to do this on the side to supplement your income or anything along those lines, you have the ability to do that with the tools that we have today.
That's what I want to hear about. So here's what's going to happen. Leslie pre-recorded a presentation for us, which is a training that he's taking us through. Well, while it's going on, Leslie and I will both remain in chat, answering as many of your questions as we can. This is the standard format that we do here on Webinar Wednesday. We answer as many of the low-hanging fruit questions as we can right now I'm not saying your questions are fruity. I'm saying just the easy ones for us to answer. And then once we are done, we will come back and we will answer more questions live on air until the top of the hour. So as I say, if you have to leave, if you have trouble with the internet, if you have internet connection issues, worry not. There will be a replay shared with you, and that replay is going to be available for the week. So without any other ado, I believe I'm going to queue up Leslie's video. It's 36 minutes. He listened to me saying I want a 20-minute video. I appreciate the fact that he was right on point with that. So while that is,
I thought you said 30 plus. Is that what I heard?
I think I said 20 to 30, but you probably heard what you wanted to hear.
Hey, that's what I do sometimes.
We all do it. We all do it. I don't mind. It's not bad. But if I tell people they can do 35, guess what I get? So
it's a good thing you didn't tell me that.
we get, feature creep in products. We get minute creep in our videos. So let's jump into it. We will see you all on the other side of the video with Leslie Samuel.
Well, hello, what is up? Leslie Samuel here, and I'm excited to be with you today on a Webinar Wednesday. We are talking all about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is how to monetize your message. How to monetize your message. Because here's the thing that I know. We all have a message to share. You have a message to share, and depending on where you're coming from, maybe you're working at a job, you've been doing it for 20 years, 50 years, 30 years, whatever the case might be, there are things that that others can benefit from. And if you can create content and put it out there in a way that benefits others, you too can monetize your message. This is a concept that's near and dear to my heart based on the experiences that I've had, and I'll walk you through a lot of that today. Of course, because it is a Webinar Wednesday, we are going to be in the chat engaging with you. If you have questions or thoughts that you want to share, please feel free to share that at any point throughout this session. So yes, we are talking about monetize your message. And when I talk about monetize your message, I'm talking about creating content. And you're putting that content out there. That content inspires others, and it can even change the world. And here's the key. You can do this while building a successful online business. We want to do this in a way where, yes, we are providing value to others based on our experiences, but we also want to do it while making money from what we're doing, while building a successful online business. Now, in order for you to understand why this concept is something that's so near and dear to my heart, I have to tell you a little story. And this story begins way back in the early 2000s when I was a student in the university. I was doing my bachelor's degree in biology. And then I eventually ended up going on for my master's degree in neurobiology. But while I was studying, I had this experience where I wasn't the best student. I just wanted to have a good time. And I came from the Caribbean, moved to America, coming to America, excited to experience all that America has to offer. And I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the main reason why I was there, which was, to pursue my education. Now, this all changed one particular day. One day when I was sitting in a physiology class, And when I was sitting in the physiology class, the professor started talking about the nervous system and how there are these neurons and how the neurons function and how this comes together to form this nervous system. And I started to see how complex the human body was. And it excited me. Man, I was so excited about the nervous system. And then we went into the circulatory system, and I started to figure out how the blood vessels take the blood throughout the body and how the heart works and all of this good stuff. And I got so excited that I wanted to go on, finish my master's in neurobiology, get a doctorate in neurobiology, and then become a university professor. But something happened. And the thing that happened is that I was doing research. And when I was doing research, my research was on crickets. My research was on this insect that you see here, and I would take this insect, this cricket, and I would place it under a microscope, and I would dissect that cricket and record from its electrons and all this, not from its electrons, from its neurons, the thing that I was so excited about. And I came to a realization, and that realization was that I hated doing this kind of research. That is not what I wanted to do. What I really wanted to do was I wanted to teach. I wanted to be in a classroom. I wanted to work with students. I wanted to engage students and teach them about the nervous system and how the neurons worked. I wanted to talk to them about the cardiovascular system and how blood flows through the heart and how it goes through the blood vessels and all of that stuff. This is what I wanted to do. The fact is, the research itself and the being in the lab and all of the stuff, that didn't appeal to me. I wanted to be a university professor and just teach. But, I gave up on the dream of becoming a university professor because the research was not that interesting to me, and I started teaching at a high school. Eventually, I started to feel unsatisfied with what I was doing, and I wanted to teach the more upper level advanced stuff that I had learned when I took that physiology class. So what did I do? I couldn't do it at a university, not at the time. So I went to YouTube and I started creating those videos about the nervous system and the circulatory system and all this stuff that got me excited. And then I took those videos and I put it on my blog, and then people started visiting the blog. And as you can see here, this is looking at one particular month. And in that month, what you'll see here, this is the part that I want you to pay attention to. This 100,000 session. That is 100,000 visits to that blog in one particular month. And I was able to create this content and put it out there in a way where people were coming and consuming that content. And it opened up all kinds of opportunities for me. The biggest of which, or one of the biggest of which, is I actually landed my dream job as a university professor in a doctoral program, in a Doctor of Physical Therapy program. Yes, without my PhD, I was teaching students that were getting their doctorates. And it wasn't based on my PhD because I didn't have one. It was based on the content that I was creating and the content that I put on the internet, the videos that I was making. They saw what I was capable of, and they decided to give me a chance. Now, I started working, and as I was teaching, something happened. And that is this thing that you see right here. I don't know if you can tell what's happening. I don't know if you could tell what's happening there, but what is happening is my wife is giving birth. Yes, my wife gave birth to our son. And that was a life-changing moment. because what was going on at that time was I was doing so much on my job, on my business, that I had no time for my family, and it didn't feel well. So eventually, 3 years later, I decided I was going to quit my job. And this was the podcast episode that I published the day I quit my job. I quit my job. Now what? What am I going to do? And this is when I started to lay out the plan for what my business would look like. Creating this content has opened up all kinds of opportunities. Putting my message out there has opened up all kinds of opportunities. It has allowed me the ability to speak on stages in front of thousands of people all over the world and to put my message out there in person. It has allowed me to be featured on all kinds of television news segments and even TV shows and so on, all because I created content, I put it out there, and I monetized my message. So that is the background for why this concept is so important for me. Because by creating content, putting it out there, inspiring others, and having that impact while building a business, I was able to build a business that gives me the freedom and the flexibility to work from anywhere. I was able to build a business that gives me the freedom and flexibility to spend more time with my family, to travel the world and have an impact in ways that I never thought was possible. So here's the thing. You can do this too for whatever it is you are passionate about and whatever it is you know that you can provide value around. I want to talk to you about how you can actually go about doing this. I hope that's okay with you. If that's what you're here to learn, you are in the right place. Now, it all starts with this question. Who do you want to serve? Yes, who do you want to serve? Or who will you serve? Who do you serve or who will you serve? That is the fundamental question that all of this monetize your message concept is built on. Who do you want to serve? Now, for me, who I wanted to serve with my biology blog was, I used to be a biology student and I took physiology classes, and I saw that there were a bunch of people in those classes that really struggled to understand those concepts. And I wanted to help those people. So I got very specific about who I wanted to serve, and that was university students that are majoring in biology that are in their 3rd or 4th year. Do you see how specific that is? I wanted to serve those people, and because I knew that I was able to determine the kind of content, and we'll get to this in a little while, the kind of content I needed to create to reach that particular person. So who do you serve, or who will you serve? Then from there, I want you to answer the question, why do you want to serve that person? Like, what is it about that person that makes you want to serve them? For me, as I mentioned, I took the classes, I saw the students, I loved the concepts, but I also saw how there's so many people that were struggling to understand those concepts, and I wanted to help those people. Because I understood who they were, and I knew why I wanted to serve them, I could also then answer the next question, which is, what are they struggling with? What is their biggest struggle? And for my target audience, their biggest struggle was that they wanted to pass their class. They went to these classes. It's complex content. The professor is talking. They have no idea what that professor is talking about, and they needed to get a good grade in that class because they wanted to move on to the next class. All right. Maybe they want to be a doctor. Maybe they want to be a university professor, but they had to get through that class in order to make it to the other side. So, who will you serve? Why do you want to serve them? What is their biggest struggle? And next, what's your core message to them? Now, these are questions, it sounds, very conceptual, but these are concepts that in order to do what we're going to talk about, you have to be clear on. Who do you want to serve? Maybe you've been working at maybe you've been a banker for a very long time, and you see how there's so many people that struggle to understand personal finances. And because you've seen that over the years, you want to be the person that's providing the education and the resources and the tools to help those people with their biggest struggles. And their biggest struggles are they don't feel like they have any control over their financial situations. And maybe you're the person to come in there with your vast knowledge and your expertise to give them guidance. I want you to think about these questions for you, based on your experience, based on what you are good at, based on what you know. Who do you want to serve? Why do you want to serve them? What is their biggest struggle? And what is your core message to them? Now, for me, my core message to that biology student is, I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're coming from. I don't care how much you're struggling right now. You can understand these concepts. That's my core message to them. You can understand biology. You can understand biology. And I'm going to create this content in a way to show you that you got this. You can get this. All right? So that is where we want to start. Identifying who we want to serve, identifying why we want to serve them, what they're struggling with, and what your core message is to them. Now, I want to do this now, and we're going to engage with you in the chat. I want you to answer the question, who do you serve? Or who do you want to serve? Who will you serve based on your experiences? Or who do you think you can serve, that you can provide value to? Go ahead and write that in the chat. We'll be engaging with you down there. Who do you want to serve? And after that, I want you to think about what their biggest struggle is. Like, what are they struggling with as it relates to what you're teaching them? Make sense? We're good? All right. We're going to be engaging with you in the comments below. Now, the next question is, how will you serve them? And this next question is key. It is key because the how you will serve them will form the basis for your entire online business. And we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this in detail because this is going to be the content you create, the products and the services that you provide, all of that good stuff. These are important concepts for you to get. Now, I want to introduce you to a concept. Maybe you're familiar with it. And I call it the value pyramid. Now, people might call it a sales funnel or something else. I call it a value pyramid. And we're starting at the bottom of this pyramid with our public-facing content. This is the free content that we put out there for people to consume. And from that, because we're building a business, we're going to be increasing in value as we go up this pyramid. So they come, they consume our public-facing content, and we'll go into all of these steps. Then they sign up for a free gift. And they sign up for that free gift by giving their email address. They join your email list, and they get a free gift, a free resource. And then from there, because we are monetizing our message, we're going to have some offers. We're going to have a low price offer, something to just get them in the door. It's not very expensive or anything of that sort. It's them indicating that they want to go a little further, but maybe they're not ready to make a huge commitment as yet. And then we're going to have our mid-level offer right here. And then we're going to have our high-priced offer. Now, some people, when I introduce them to this concept, they think to themselves, oh man, this is so much. It's so overwhelming. But here's the cool thing about it. You don't have to do this all at once. This is something that you are building over time as you monetize your message. So we're going to start at the bottom of this funnel with our public-facing content, and then we're going to work our way up. All right? your public facing content. There are different forms of that content. You can have written content, you're just writing your blog posts. This is, for some people, the simplest way of getting started because they don't have to be on camera, they don't have to record their voice or anything of that sort. And this is a great form of content for some people to begin with. Then you can record audio. You're hearing my voice right now, listening to me. Of course, there is video as well in what you are looking at, but you can have a podcast, an audio podcast. This is a medium that I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite forms of content to create because, someone might watch a 5-minute video on YouTube, but if that was like a 30-minute video, they're not as likely to watch it. But with an audio podcast, they're going to be much more likely to listen to that for a longer period of time. And then, of course, you can do video content. This is another great and valuable way of creating content when I started my biology blog, I knew that I wanted to focus on video, and we'll talk a little more about that in a little bit. But by creating the kind of content that your audience is looking for, you can get in front of them. Now, that's not the only forms of content that you can do for your public-facing content. Of course, there are articles and podcast episodes and pre-recorded videos, but you can also do live videos. You can do stories. You can do short form videos like things on TikTok and so on, those platforms that so many of us are like, what in the world is going on these platforms? But these are valid forms of content for getting the word out there, getting your message out there, your content out there, your educational content out there, your entertaining content, your inspiring content. That's valid form of content to put out there as well. And of course, there are others, but these are the main forms of content that you can put out there. And by putting that content out there, what I generally find is that, as you see here, the traffic to your site grows over time. And the content that I created way back in 2012 and 2011 and 2010, etc., that content continued getting traffic, and as I create more and more content, the traffic grows over time if you do things the right way. So creating content is a great way to get your message out there. Now, in doing that, I want to show you some examples. Right here, we're going to look at one of these, number 4. You can see it has, in this period of time, almost 5,000 visitors. The number isn't very important, but I want to show you how that one post performed over time. This is looking at the traffic from that one post. I created it back in 2010, and it didn't get a lot of traffic, but that one post over time, in 2012, you see it started getting more, and 13 more, and 14 more, and 15 more, and it continued going up to where, and this is what I love about creating content on the internet. The content that I created over a decade ago is still getting traffic today. And that allows you to monetize your message over the long term. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, Leslie, you're talking about creating content, and we can create written content and video content and audio content, but how do we get that content out there? Now, I want to tell you a little bit of a story about an experience that I have and share a few other ways that you can get some traffic to your blog or to your website or to your YouTube channel or to your content, your message that you are putting out there into the world. Since I was doing a biology blog, I started looking around. What are the other biology blogs out there? And I found one blog in particular that I knew was getting a lot of traffic, and it was called The Biology Corner. Now, the reason I knew it was getting a lot of traffic is because at the time I was a high school science and math teacher. I taught biology, and whenever I did certain searches related to biology, this site would always show up in the search results, and it would show up high, which told me, they're doing pretty good when it comes to traffic from the search engines if I keep going there after my searches. So I reached out to that person, the person behind the site, and I basically told her, hey, I love what you're doing. I'm using your content in my classes. My students are loving them. Thank you so much. And I actually offered to help her out. I said, I noticed you are having some issues with your site, and I understand how to deal with these sites, these WordPress sites, and I would love to offer my service to you free of charge. And then I said to her, by the way, I also have a biology blog, and you can check it out over here. I post biology videos. And I just kind of let her know about that. Her response to me was this: man, thank you so much for that offer. I really appreciate it. I'm so busy. I don't even have time to take you up on that generous offer, but thank you so much for doing that. And then she said, by the way, checked out your blog, loved it. I always wanted to do something like that. I wrote about it here. I wrote about it here. I went to her blog and I saw it was a very short post. Found this blog with biology videos. You should check it out. Now, what happened as a result of that was amazing to me at that time. And that is, I got 400 and what's that number? It's so small you probably can't see it, but 466 visits from that blog that month. And not just that, because she linked to me, other blogs noticed my blogs. And they started linking to it as well. And that started bringing more traffic. And then more people started linking. And more traffic kept coming my way because I reached out and offered to help someone else that was in the same space as I was. So one way that you can get visibility to your message and to your content is by connecting and collaborating with others. Eventually, she ended up linking to my blog in her sidebar on the side of her site. And what that did was any page you went on her website, you saw that link, and that brought more and more traffic my way. You see, if you create it, they won't necessarily come. You actually have to go out there and start sharing it and start connecting with others so that they can see what you're working on and come and get the value that you have to offer. That was one of the first things I did to get my content out there. But there were other things that I did. Another thing that I did a number of times is called guest posting. Once again, this came from relationships and connecting with other people. In this case, it was in the entrepreneurship space, but I did this post on how my biology blog landed me my dream job for Entrepreneur's Journey. And the key thing here that you can see is at the bottom of the post, it had links to my content. It had links to my website, and people could read that on this blog and then click through to come and visit my blog. And that was an amazing thing. Another thing that I did was I started interviewing entrepreneurs because I was teaching people about entrepreneurship as well. And here you can see I did an interview with Guy Kawasaki. And the cool thing about when you do interviews with people, especially if you make them look good, they're going to be likely to share their interview with their audiences. And if they have audiences, that is more exposure for your content. And then, of course, there's social media. Social media is a great way to get your content out there. And yes, there are a ton of social media platforms. I recommend not trying to be everywhere, especially if you're just getting started. You choose that primary social media platform that you're going to focus on. And when you find that primary social media platform, you study it. You look at other people. What are they doing? You take courses on that social media platform. Let's say you decide, I want to be very visual with my content and I'm going to go on Instagram. Well, then you look for maybe some Instagram courses that you can take and learn how to do Instagram well. And you go all in on this platform. I will generally recommend for people to choose one primary social media platform and maybe one secondary social media platform. That way, you're not overwhelming yourself trying to be everywhere all at once. And what that can do is, once you've mastered a specific social platform and you have systems in place to make sure that things are happening on that platform the way that they should happen, and it's going pretty well, then you can decide, hey, I'm going to add another platform into the mix. And as you add that platform into the mix, then that brings more exposure. All right. But it's all about doing it in a strategic way where you are not just creating content and throwing it out there, hoping something happens, but you are connecting with others in your space. You are possibly posting on other blogs. You are sharing your content on social media in a strategic way to get exposure to that content because you are trying to build your business. You are trying to monetize your message. So that's the bottom of the value pyramid. You're creating this free content, you're putting it out there, you're sharing it on social media and through relationships and other platforms, and you're getting it out there. What happens next? Well, as I mentioned, the next step up is you have a free gift. Now, this free gift could be some kind of a resource that you put together. It can be a PDF report or an ebook, an audio guide, video training. These are all different options that you can use for your free gifts. And what I am not saying is I'm not saying to go and create all of these things and use that as a free gift. No, I'm saying pick one. Pick one. Which one will not take too much from you to create, but provide value to the audience that you are trying to serve. Remember, you know what they're struggling with, and because you know what they're struggling with, you can create a resource for them. So for me, because my audience, I know they're struggling to pass their biology and their physiology classes, I created a guide on 10 ways to pass your biology class. Makes perfect sense. And it was an audio guide that they could listen to, and it had a PDF that went along with it that had the main points in that. It's a free resource, and they can sign up, give their email address, and that is the key. Because now I have their email address, I can be in contact with them. And whenever I have a new post or a new piece of content, or a new video, or I have a new product to sell, I can communicate directly with them via email. All right. So these are options for your free gifts. And then from there, as I mentioned, you can have a low price offer. Now, you notice anything about this list in comparison to the other one? It's very similar, right? Yeah, there are a few minor changes, but you can have a low price offer that is a PDF report or an ebook or an audio guide. For me, I had an ebook and it was called my Human Physiology for Regular People. That was the name of my ebook that I sold, and I sold that on my site, and people, a certain percentage of the people that signed up for my free gift would purchase this product. All right, so, and for me at that point, the price of that, I think it was $27. Now, you can go lower than that. You can go higher than that, depending on your niche, depending on your industry, and depending on the value that it's providing. But that gives you an idea of what's possible. And then from there, of course, you can have your mid-priced product. Similar concept, right? Now, here I added a few other things like maybe consultation, a membership, your group coaching or training, service consultation. There are all kinds of things that you can do to serve your audience, all kinds of products and services that you can provide to serve your audience at that mid-priced level. And from there, of course, you can have your high-priced offer, which could be like a video training, a course, a challenge, consultation, membership, group coaching and training, mastermind groups, one-on-one coaching. This is one of the things that I do. I offer one-on-one coaching, and that is my high-price offer. So in my business right now, not talking about the biology business, I have my low-price offer, which is my event. Then I have my mid-price offer, which is group coaching. And then I have my high-price offer, which is one-on-one coaching. Because I've structured it that way, I'm able to funnel people through from my public-facing content where I am getting my message out there into the world. Some of them deciding to take that next step and subscribing to my email list. And then from there to get that free gift. And then from there, some taking the low price offer, some taking the mid price offer, and some taking the high price offer, allowing me to monetize my message in a way that's effective for my target audience. So really and truly, when it comes down to monetizing your message, it comes down to this graphic right here, this image right here. On your value pyramid, what kind of public facing content will you create? What type of free gift will you create? What type of low price product will you create? What type of mid price product will you create? And what type of high price product will you create? And I've given you many options for those different levels. And now it comes down to knowing who you're going to serve, knowing why you want to serve them, knowing what they're struggling with, and using that to determine what value you can provide at the different levels of this value pyramid so that you are building your business strategically over time. And what it all comes down to is this question: how will you serve them? How will you serve them? And in that, it is important for you to begin with the end in mind. What I highly recommend for you to do is to sit down and answer these questions and think about, yes, you're not going to get all of these done in one go, but what will it look like? What could it look like if it's all completed? All right. And once again, let's go with the example of someone that you've been a banker for 30 years or for 50 years. You have a lot of experience in that space. You know that the person that you want to target are people that are struggling with their personal finances, and maybe specifically your focus on military veterans or something along those lines, right? That is your niche. You want to help veterans manage their personal finances effectively so that they can feel secure in their retirement when it's all said and done. Well, what are they struggling with? What kind of content do you need to create to attract that military veteran that is dealing with certain financial issues? How can you provide them with the guidance that they need? What kind of free resource are you going to create? So maybe the public-facing content, you're doing weekly videos where you're sharing tips on how military families can manage their finances better. And then maybe as your free opt-in, you have a spreadsheet that will allow them to budget out their expenses for the month. And maybe your low price product is something like an ebook that you've created that guides them through setting up a financial plan for their military family. And then maybe at the next level up, you offer some kind of group consultation, group coaching, where you're working with multiple military families to help them get their finances in order. And maybe at the high level, you are working with them one-on-one, and they're paying you a decent amount of money in exchange for you helping them to accomplish what they are trying to accomplish so that they can feel secure in their finances, so that they can have more confidence in their plan for retirement. Does that make sense? Of course it does. So what I want for you to do, of course, we're going to take some questions now and we can go deeper into all of that. But what I want for you to do is think through your value pyramid so that you can line that out, outline that, and figure out a way that you can monetize your message using the concepts that I taught here today. So thank you so much for sticking with me for this 30-something minutes. Now we're going to go ahead and take your questions, and we're happy to do so.
Thank you, Leslie. That was a good job. Very entertaining. I'm glad we didn't have the video of the childbirth. I'm just saying right now, that's a big relief for me.
It would have been very simple. You'd have seen my wife's face, and then you would have seen this beautiful baby. And that's
okay. I trust you on that. I trust you on that. But you had me scared for a moment. Great job. We're going to get to all of your questions, and I've got some points that I want to ask Leslie about that I think he touched on them, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into a few things. But just a quick reminder that at the end of today's webinar, we will be taking this webinar. You can share it with others. There'll be a replay available. We have a few links that we will be sharing with you. Leslie has a Facebook group that he'll be sharing, and Leslie also has a staging area. You were originally planning on launching a course. I guess, would this be your mid-range option?
Yeah, that would actually, yes, that would be my mid-range option.
Yeah, which is a workshop that Leslie was planning on doing, which is going to happen towards the end of the year. It's towards in November, December.
Yeah, well, it's going to happen in January,
Okay.
January 30th through February 1st, where we go much more in depth with all the stuff that we went over today.
So you can, but you can start following Leslie in social, and you can get to know him a little bit better as well, which will prepare you for that. So let's go to your question. And that's the first place that I'm gonna start with a question, Leslie, is when you started. I thought it was fascinating when you shared the blog post that had such a long tail success.
Yeah.
When the numbers were low. A lot of people, once they decide, they will start with their passion first, and then they will. It's hard to have the answers to your passion, your avatar, the people who you're trying to serve, and their challenges. You typically speaking, you're going to have one of the three. Is that fair to say that you're going to start with one of the three?
Yeah, it's fair to say that you'll start with one of the three. And it's also fair to say that some of that will evolve over time, and the picture will be filled out over time. But I always like to encourage people to start thinking about that. Like, what do you think they're struggling with? And what do you think, what can you provide to them that's going to provide that level of value?
And it's important to be flexible, because if you start the dialogue, your community will tell you. If you're listening, so starting with that community, but a lot of the challenge people have is they have let's say they've got the passion and they know who they're reaching for, but it takes different amounts of time to gain traction. And when I look at that blog post, I don't know, from 2012 through 2016, were you really delivering a lot of content to crickets? And if so, how did you stay the course?
Yeah, so actually, when I started creating the content, obviously it didn't explode, but I started getting a decent amount of traffic. The first month I had something like 400 people visit the site, and it was kind of in the hundreds range until it kind of took off over time. How did I stay the course? Every time I got a little bit of feedback that was positive, I would file that thing away and put it in a special folder so that I can go back to it whenever I needed encouragement. Because for me, those comments from the few people that were getting value from it meant a lot to me. It showed me that, hey, no, I don't have hundreds of thousands of people like many others, but someone is getting value from this. So as it continued to grow and I started getting more of those comments, it's kind of, it like builds on itself. In the beginning, very few, but in a few months, a few more. That to me is positive growth. And that's what I like to see. And that for me is very encouraging.
Did you make any pivots early on? Like you said that you started out wanting to be a university professor, and you wanted to create biology, but now you are very specific about what that biology play is. It's to third and fourth year students.
Actually, that's what it was from. When I first started, actually, I didn't mention this. It was more, I was teaching at a high school and I was just recording my lectures and putting them up there. And then eventually I was like, wait, no, let me create more of the content that I wanted to create. And once I made that decision, I went directly to third and fourth year students that are majoring in biology, taking a physiology class, because I had a lot to share at that level.
And so you had experience as well of you weren't that far out of being that student yourself, right?
Exactly.
So you knew your target audience's pain. You understood.
Oh, yes. Right? Absolutely. I'd worked with those students when I was in class, and then I was a teacher's assistant working with those same types of students, and it just I wasn't that far removed from that at all.
Yeah, and that's the I mean, to me, it's one of the biggest keys is if you're going to create content and you want to reach a marketplace, it's got to solve a problem. Really,
exactly.
And maybe it doesn't, but I can't imagine getting traction and success if you're not.
Absolutely. I mean, oftentimes people say, well, my audience don't have a problem. I'm just, making funny videos. Well, the problem might be that they're bored and they need something that's entertaining. There has to be some kind of a problem in order for you to do something that's viable, especially if you're trying to do this as a business.
Now, the journey that you took us through from small product from a simple opt-in offer, which The mechanics of it are to get people's email address, to start the
Pretty
connection,
much.
to start the process. I've been reading a lot and thinking a lot about, we look at this journey. Somebody mentioned the customer journey, and this is the
Yep.
customer journey. We look at it from so many different perspectives. The funnel that you talked about, but you can also flip that and say what you're doing is it's not just a revenue and an engagement funnel, but it's also a trust funnel, where they get to know you, and each step of the way they gain a little bit more trust and a little bit more comfort with you, and you get to know each other a little bit better.
Absolutely. They watch my free videos and they get value from it. They then go and get my free resource, and then I send them more content. And the more I send them more content and the more they watch the videos, and it's like, man, now this is making sense to me. I start to trust Leslie more as the guy that, when I'm confused with what my professor is saying, he's the one that's coming alongside me and helping me. So now I know him, I like him, I trust him. I'm more likely to purchase anything that he has to offer.
And the longer I'm in this business, the more I think I recognize that of that know, like, and trust trilogy that we always go for, that they're not equal partners. That trust is far and away the most important asset that you can build online.
Trust is key. You want them to say, hey, if I need to know an answer to this question, I know I can trust this guy because he gives me valuable content and he helps me with whatever it is I'm dealing with, whatever I'm struggling with when it comes to that particular topic. That is so key.
So you talked a lot about your biology business building, which was a straight linear build. Like from there, we can see the connection points from Leslie the student to Leslie the wannabe professor to Leslie the YouTuber to Leslie the successful YouTuber, and now generating revenue because you followed that linear journey. And that's easy to understand.
Yes,
but that's not your whole story.
Absolutely not.
At some point in there, you pivoted. Actually, you've now double pivoted because you've pivoted back, but maybe we'll get to that. But at one point you said, I don't want to do this YouTube channel anymore, this biology, and I want to pivot. And then you went completely into a different direction. Well, you again start to deal with pain, but you started to teach and coach content creators and bloggers. And so you were taking the kind of the next learning journey that you were on, and expressing and starting to teach people where the challenges were there. How did that come about?
So it actually started before the biology blog. I started teaching about online marketing and business before, and eventually I decided I'm gonna test this concept out in a completely unrelated, because I would get people saying, yeah, go ahead.
So were you doing that? But the biology YouTube channel was your main gig?
That came after. Actually, I was doing the online marketing and business and blogging stuff first, and then I started the biology kind of as a case study to show people, hey, you could do this also in a niche unrelated to making money online. So that is how this one came about, and then eventually I pivoted much more to the online business and marketing and social media and so on, and then, as you mentioned, then going back. It's been an interesting journey.
Yeah, no, because there's different, like a lot of social media marketing instructors teach you how to do in social media. All they do is social media, so it's a very meta approach. It's kind of like the guys, kind of like the guys that teach you how to make money in real estate that never invest in real estate.
Exactly.
So there's a real appeal to me, to people who have walked the walk and who've taken a channel from soup to nuts and built it and learned. And because every step of the way we learn something new, and I think for every success we have, we probably have 2-3 failures where we think we're on the right track and the world tells us no, we're not. So so going through that journey and sticking to that journey is essential. But okay, so that you didn't do a pivot. So your YouTube channel really started as a case study, as an outgrowth of your blogging and your interest in social media. But then you sold your channel. I think when I first met you, within a year of when I first met you, is it now 4 years ago, that you took your biology channel and you actually sold it, right?
Yeah, I sold the channel, I sold the website, I sold everything, and I got rid of it, and I focused, because I was trying to build both at the same time, and I was full time, and I just needed all of my energy to be on one. So I sold that, focused on the online marketing and business and social media stuff. And now,
which is a powerful lesson in itself, which is concentrating on one thing, what you do, you know, focusing on one thing, and you've got more success in that space. But now you've taken the channel back. Tell me why.
I took it back because I couldn't not take it back. I just started to feel that passion for biology even stronger. My son is now into biology, and we'd been doing a lot of this kind of stuff together. And it's like, oh man, I want to share this with the world again. And my other business is doing pretty well. I'm doing my coaching and so on. And that is kind of working. It's at a much better stage than what it was back then. And the person that took the site wasn't doing much with it. Well, wasn't doing anything with it.
That's what I was going to ask you. Were you frustrated with the fact that
I was
wondering if you were looking at it saying, come on, I trusted you with my baby.
Yeah, so I grew it to 134,000 when I sold it, and then it grew to 192 with zero added content, and I'm looking at it like, oh, so much potential. So yeah, I bought it back last month, and now I'm getting ready to move ahead with that.
Okay, that's I think that's fascinating. I think but I also really appreciate the decision, the difficult decision that you did when you actually sold it the first time. It might not have been the right decision. It was probably the right decision for the time, and it was definitely right for your social media business.
Definitely.
And allowed you to focus and concentrate 100% on that. Now, we do have a few questions. The one that no, we've kind of covered them off, the questions that were asked. And as usual, our community has jumped in with Dudley with the really insightful comment: never kill your babies.
I love that.
I definitely appreciate it. So fill us in a little bit on where people should follow you now from our community here, and what they'll get if they start following you in the content that you're providing.
Absolutely. So IamLeslieSamuel.com is my main platform. If they go to virtual.IamLeslieSamuel.com, they'll be able to find.
Will be sharing these links for us right now. Yeah.
Yes. If they go to virtual.IamLeslieSamuel.com, that will have all of the information about my virtual event, which is called Monetize Your Message. It's a really impactful event, and they get a lot of basically the stuff that we spoke about today. They'd be able to work on that during the event, getting guidance from me and some of the other experts that I have coming in. Lots of value. They're gonna you leave with a blueprint for your specific business.
That's terrific. I love the fact that you take on what I think is one of the challenges that I find intimidating when I talk to baby boomers and Gen X. I love helping them once they know what they want to do with their business and coach them online. But getting to that first decision point, that is one that I sometimes struggle with myself. And for me it was I think because I kind of more happenstance than good planning is the reason that I found success. But I just believe that you can actually plan it out, and I think you're proof positive of that, going from blogging to YouTube to coaching, and each one was a logical decision, and you made it. You took a step, and you followed the plan through.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's something that I'm passionate about. I want others to see how they can do it as well, and to have the tools to be able to do that. So yes, and I see Margie asked, do I have a YouTube channel? Yes, I have my Interactive Biology YouTube channel, but I also have one. If you just search for Leslie Samuel TV on YouTube, you'll see me there.
Good stuff. Let's put a button on this. First of all, I got to thank April, who's in the room, who's been managing the chat for us. Woo-hoo. To our entire community, especially our patrons, thank you so very, very much. Just as a community service announcement, we're going to take our summer break now. So this will be the last webinar Wednesday until we're back in September. We'll be back in the first week of September, I think, is our next webinar Wednesday coming back. And we already know what it's going to be about. It's going to be about I'm scared to say it because so many people some people are happy about it, some people aren't happy about it, but it's going to be about Evernote. We're going to be returning to Evernote because a lot of people are right now kind of pissed off at Evernote with some of the changes that they just made. But we'll be back in September. We'll be slowing down the number of emails that we send over the summer because we aren't doing too much new content. So those of you who are on our mail list, we will be reaching out a few times through the summer, but we aren't going to be sending we aren't going to be sending out our regular weekly emails because we got nothing to say and we don't want to clutter up your inbox. Having said that, there will be a follow-up email this week, which will cover all of the content, give you the details on how to connect with Leslie, and put a button on the. I kind of think this is almost the year end because I think September. Do you think September is the beginning of the year, Leslie?
I think about August-ish, kind of as the beginning of the year, because that's when my kids go to school. So that's like the start of something for me.
Yeah, and for us here in Canada, the kids go back to school in September. So that's why I think it's I have beginning of year dyslexia. It's either January or September. So with that, thanks to all of you so much for your support through this entire year. It's been up to now. It's been a real treat, and we are looking forward to our break. As soon as we're done today, I'm up at the barn picking up the boat, and Shannon and I are going to be out on the water. So don't be looking for me to be talking too much in the next little while. Leslie, you're awesome, my friend. Thank you very much. I will see you on Supernatural. You workout maniac, you, and and to the rest of the world. Till next time.
Take care, y'all.
Storming the castle.